Good morning, and thank you for joining part 2 of the 2020 webinar series. Today's series is Master Your Order Entry Process, From Chaos to Competitive Advantage. Please be sure to mark your calendar for part 3 of the 2020 Insight webinar series, End-to-End Production Optimization, on Wednesday, August 6th, 2014 at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. At 2020, we focus on creating a software platform that empowers consumers, designers, dealers, retailers, and manufacturers to create and deliver personalized projects. 2020 is a global organization with more than 500 employees. We are dedicated to building software applications for the design and manufacture of rooms and spaces for home and office. With 14 sales locations, 13 service locations, 8 product development locations, and 8 technical support locations located worldwide. We've been translated into more than 20 different languages and sold in more than 100 countries. We have access to 2,300 manufacturers' catalogs, and we're used in more than 48,000 facilities. More than 150,000 licenses have been sold of 2020. As such, we are a leader in the design and manufacture of spaces. Our message is making an integrated end-to-end solution for both consumers, dealers, and manufacturers. Our goal is providing enriched product data. Although the needs of the consumer, the dealer, and the manufacturer are different, we provide a commonality that flows from beginning to end with a collaboration, a communication, and a delivery capability that flows from start to finish. Master your order entry process, from chaos to competitive advantage, quality in, quality out. You've all heard this time-tested statement, and it holds true for order entry departments. If you want to achieve top quality products delivered on time, then it starts with inputting top quality orders. In this webcast, we'll show you how automated order validation and controlled business processes result in fewer order entry mistakes, less rework, and better profitability for your business. We're pleased to have with us today Joerg Brauns as our presenter. Joerg comes to the industry with over 15 years of experience in the woodworking industry. He's worked throughout the world and has managed ERP implementations, led a team of professional engineers and consultants before managing the manufacturing line of business at 2020. Joerg has supported companies in their system architecture, business process analysis and re-engineering, lean, synchronous flow manufacturing, and one-piece flow. Those are just some of the opportunities Joerg's held in the past year. Joerg is also engaged in partner programs at 2020, and he's a member of the extended executive team. Join me in welcoming Joerg Brauns.
Thank you, KJ, for the introduction. So before we go into the meat of the presentation today, what I would like to do, I would like to get a little review of what happened in the history in the kitchen industry, calling it the evolution of the kitchen. So when you look at this picture here, we look back at the medieval times and we see that cooking was really a challenge at that point in time. We see open fires, but that's not the most important one for us kitchen planners. It's more how simple a kitchen was at that point in time. If you go a little bit further in history, looking at the 20s and the 40s, we see that appliances were introduced to make handling and cooking much easier in the kitchen. At that point in time, was also in history when the electrical plug-in kettle was used to boil water. These kind of kitchen, probably most of us remember. We still see these when we walk into our grandma's house in the 50s and 60s, much sleeker design than before, but with still weird colors. And again, if you walk into your grandma's kitchen, you probably see this today. Now, in the 70s, the kitchen became more a social place, and therefore also the space need to increase. Parties happen in kitchen. We see these wallpapers on the wall, which is all tiles today. We see different kind of colors and shapes of appliances during the 70s. A little bit later in the 80s, the kitchen has changed again, more an open plan, and the styles of cabinets have changed. Everything went more towards conservative during that time. And nowadays, we see that the planning of a kitchen room is much more important. Many more styles are offered by kitchen manufacturers, and so do colors. A variety of available selections need to be available for the designer when people walk in the showroom and want to select a kitchen. And at the end, it is very important to visualize the design and make it available for the end customer. Visualization, as of today, is still the best tool to verify if the layout and the selected specifications are correct, because only accurate designs are the starting point for seamless business processes without interferences. So with this little view in the history, I would like to get started into our topic today and asking ourselves, who is really involved in the order entry process? As we see, there are lots of departments involved. Some of them are direct and some of them are indirect involved. The ones which are directly involved is definitely the designer, the dealer, customers in showroom, everyone on the front line. But we should also not forget that we have the customer service department here. Once an order has been placed in a dealer location, then it goes into the order entry department. Even here, where we verify orders, that's very important. Now, when specials are involved, then we see very often the detailed involvement of the engineering department. That's typically not handled by the order entry department. If the customization of a line item in an order gets very complicated, then only the engineers, they do their one-offs. We see this with hoods and other specials. During the entire process, we also find that the finance department gets their share in the order entry process. We know that there's a credit limit check or some other financial obligations which need to be fulfilled until an order can process and advance to the next level. And last but not least, our IT department. IT departments are always involved in the entire process throughout the workflows and any other kind of communication between the individual departments. So what are the challenges in today's world during order entry? One of them is definitely how the orders are coming into the manufacturing site. Different procedures here. Either I have emails, so that's kind of attachments are coming in, either PDF, AutoCAD drawings, or anything else. We also see faxes are coming in, which then need to be manually entered into the system, but also then attached to the order so that we have a history of the communication. And sometimes we do see mails, but I hope that's going out of the way pretty soon. Another challenge is definitely the communication between the point of sale and the manufacturer. This needs to be optimized in some way because the dealer thinks he enters some information into the order, and then the manufacturer probably assumes that that is the way the dealer thought about it. And very often, because of this miscommunication, we see issues in wrong delivery of a kitchen. Based on that, it's also insufficient information. So if the dealer is not able to add additional information to individual line item or to the order, then how can the manufacturer know what they need to provide at the end of the day? And that is very critical, particularly in the point when we go into semi and specials per line item in an order. This miscommunication between different departments leads then to longer lead time. Everyone can imagine if somebody walks into a showroom and wants to order a kitchen, and where it takes a couple of weeks between the dealer and the manufacturer to figure out on the details of the order, that is time what the customer sometimes don't know that. At the end, for the customers, just it takes them forever to get their kitchen. And when somebody orders a kitchen, people or families are very eager to get them as soon as possible. And that is also what we need to get rid of, the walls between different departments, not just between the dealer and the manufacturer, but also within the own departments, as I mentioned before, between the designer and the customer service and the order entry department and the engineering department, the finance department. These walls, they need to be broken down so that we have a seamless flow. So imagine an order comes in and to the manufacturer, for an example, and when I process this order now, then the order should go from order entry, maybe through order processing, down to the shop floor. Now, if I have a tiny little error on my order, for an example, I have selected the wrong hinge location on a certain cabinet. So for an example, I say instead of left hinge, I say right hinge. Then through the process and the bomb explosion, I would see that my left-hand gable will be drilled than the other one. And when I go now to the installation process, this has, through the production process, a large impact, because I cannot install my door later on, either on the assembly line or even worse, at the customer side when I install the kitchen. Now, having just a square door, it's not very, very complicated. I turn it around and maybe I have it on the wrong side. But what about if I have a cathedral raised panel? Then the situation is completely different. So even a small error can have a large impact at the end of the day, and therefore it's very critical to make sure that the order right at the beginning is accurate. So what should a perfect solution deliver to have the optimum result at the end of the day? What we do want is an order or even a line item validation at the dealer level. So right from the beginning, we need to make sure that the order is validated and has less errors, as we have seen this in this reverse cone example. Some of the tools which can be used are exclusion rules. For an example, I can make sure that certain door styles work only with certain species and that the order entry person or the dealer cannot select the wrong combination. Certain formulas can help in order to make right calculations. Some of the products can be pre-configured. For an example, if I sell a B15, then the width is 15 inch and I cannot make it 16. In some cases, if I allow semi-customs, I can make changes, but it is much easier to pre-configure something. With all of these formulas, I can make it easier through customization that I have an accurate order at the end of the day. As I mentioned before, I can customize dimensions, door style, finishes, and also dependencies between all these features. And at the end of the day, what I also need is I want to have accurate pricing. So accurate pricing is something which I can get when I have certain rules in place. So basically, if I have my example, I have a B15 And if I cut these down to 14-inch, I probably don't offer a 14-inch cabinet in my selection. But what I can do is I take the 15 one, change the dimensions if the system allows it, and then automatically an upcharge will kick in of a few $100s, which can then be attached to the line item. And we can show that to the end customer that based on the changes, the customer need to pay a little bit more. Also, discounts can be applied based on who's ordering it. Another one which is pretty important is that I have a real-time link. So the manufacturer wants the information right on time. That means if I'm the dealer, I should be in the position through a cloud or a web-based order management solution submitting orders directly to the manufacturer. And when the order has been received on the manufacturing side and gets processed, I want to see as a dealer how my order has been, or I want to see a tracking of the order. So that means if the manufacturer changes the status of the order, I want to see that on the dealer side so that I can give information right away back to my customer that the order has been placed, it's now in production, ready to assemble, or even it's getting onto the truck. A good solution should also allow that a dealer can submit orders to multiple manufacturers. So I should be in a position that when I log into my system entering an order, that I can first of all choose from multiple catalogs and can send either to 1 or 2 or 3 different manufacturers the order and ask for a quote. That's very important when I deal with in the builder business, for an example. So I need a web tool which is between the dealer and the manufacturer. 2020 offers there a tool, Live Order and Live Link, which is very helpful on the bi-directional communication between the point of sale and the manufacturer. Not just I have this information and the interface, bi-directional interface, I also want to have the real-time status update. So not just once in a while, every time a status changes either on the dealer side or the manufacturer side, I want to send this information directly to the other side. And the system, when I make changes, these changes should automatically be recognized by other departments. Either I can email them, I can send them notifications through a task manager, so that Outlook, for an example, is completely integrated, or I can even go that far and send faxes automatically out of the system. So at the end of the day, a best-in-class solution should be the single point of order entry. We need to break down barriers and delay between the departments, as I mentioned already before. We want to have a seamless flow of information and make information visible to management in real time. That is very critical because management wants to see how many kitchens have I sold, but that day, that month, do I have enough in production? Do I sell a certain product line more or another one more? Do I use certain door styles more, less than others? That is all critical information for management to make decisions to run their business. So if we have a quick look at the order entry flow, as we can see here, somebody walks into a showroom and wants to order a kitchen. Then the designer starts with a layout. This layout then goes through either a web-based solution or the cloud to the manufacturer, to the order entry department. Now, as I mentioned before, the communication between the order entry department on the manufacturing side and the dealer happens. And this is a loop which goes on and on and on. And we really encourage our customer at the point of when creating the design to get the accurate data in that this loop stays to a minimum. Once the order has been confirmed, it goes to the manufacturer a little bit further into the next step where we can then see either another validation, or goes into the scheduling department. And from there, it will go and hit the shop floor. Now, brief highlight overview. On the left-hand side, you see all kinds of information on how I can plan my kitchen. Then I have a communication tool in the middle, and on the right-hand side, I have the information which I need on the manufacturing side. When I look at this one a little bit more in detail, I can have an online space planning tool. So that means a consumer can go to a website and start designing the kitchen, something like IKEA does, for an example. Once I have designed my kitchen as a consumer, I can send these to the dealer, and on the dealer side, I could make sure that I open it and verify everything. Now, once I have verified the order on the technical level, then I can go back to the end consumer, and with the end consumer, I go and go through the visualization and communicate with the end consumer back and forth if that is the right kitchen or not. And the end consumer can now go into his design, his or her design, where they can see which kind of kitchen do I have, what happened if I change the door style, what happened if I change tiles in the background, what happens if I change the countertop or appliances. If that is completed, the order will go to the web communication tool, a little final verification if all the individual information are accurate in here, and from there it will hit the manufacturer all the way so that I see the details later on when I export my bill of material. So what do we do in order to achieve that? And what do we want to achieve? A best-in-class software adds value to you. Particular in the area, it will reduce lead time. So reduced lead time is everything from when somebody walks into a store and enters the order until it gets installed. We want to also improve on-time shipments, but only through on-time shipments continuously, we have a great relationship between the manufacturer and the end consumer and the dealer. We also want to reduce rework. Obviously, if I have an accurate order right from the beginning in the system, then the amount of rework is less and I use less material, and that will reduce to a cost. That means if I have a costing mechanism in place on how I identify what is my labor cost, what is my overhead cost, what is my material cost. If I need to do rework again and again and again, then obviously my cost increases and my profit shrinks. And that is what upper management definitely doesn't want to see. So we try to reduce the cost, and we also want to get performance improvements. Automation is one part, the accuracy, as I mentioned before, the speed of how easy it is to enter an order, and obviously the visibility throughout the entire system from once the order has been entered until it hits the manufacturing site. Another critical part is that we want to have a great workflow in place which breaks down the walls between the individual departments. So pre-configured workflows are very common today, but most companies do not have these really in place. And when we come to the point of entering specials in the system, that's typically a bottleneck which holds up an order. Workflows can guarantee that either I can start with standard line items of my order and process them into the shop, and then the specials go a different path to a different time and match up with the order at the end for shipment, or I can get even sooner with it. I also want to see when I have specials if there are specific raw material which I have to order for these specific line items in an order. So, means if the order comes invalidated from the dealer, then there's no additional work required by the internal order entry department. I love this picture. So I'm not sure if everyone plays in ping pong. You as managers have probably other work for them. So how does best-in-class software add additional value to you? Orders are coming in, and I mentioned before, through different kind of forms. In today's world, when you especially work with 2020 design, you would see that kit files are coming in. Other systems deliver an XML file. We see attachments. We also want that I don't want to look every time at emails and manually take the attachment and create manually a sales order, attach the attachments to the sales orders. What I want is maybe a monitor process which is in place who monitors either certain email accounts or certain file servers. And once a file will be placed or an email will be placed in there, this monitor process picks up the file, creates a new order, attaches these attachment directly to the order, and sends an email directly back to the dealer that the order has been imported under order number such and such. And that is what I mentioned before. Orders are coming in, and we want to have a real-time link between the dealer and the manufacturers. Also, quotes and orders should be handled in one system. Only through that we get the complete visibility across the departments. If I enter a quote in one system, need to copy it into another system, then I lose track about these two orders, and that's definitely something which I don't want to know. Mentioned this before, automated pricing and costing is a key here. When we look at the product configuration, we want to have an industry-specific solution. That means if I go ahead and want to build rules between certain features or between certain products or in between certain product lines, then I do want to have a solution which can help me building these configurations in the background. We definitely want to have the improved functionality for specials. That means if a special is in the line of an order, we shouldn't really worry about it. We should handle it as a regular line item, and there are maybe different workflows which are being used at this point in time for the specials, but not the whole company should go crazy just because there's a special involved. Mentioned this before, reduced of rework. And that leads then later on to a faster order processing time so that the customer service department can focus on the customer and not focus on where is the order and run around in the shop searching for parts and need half a day to get back to the customer saying, yeah, now I know where the order is in the process. As you can see here, if I do all of that, then my transactional cost will be reduced throughout the company. So let's talk a little bit about best of breed software. What value adds this for you? I mentioned this briefly before about the workflow tool. In the workflow tool, we can see that certain steps are guided between the individual department. For an example, I can send automatically email notifications from one department to another one, or directly back to the dealer, or the dealer to the manufacturer. So all of this information can be processed or can be defined upfront in a workflow tool. We have automatic tasks and rules to control the order cycle and get necessary approvals. You see this a little bit down there. I mentioned it with the credit limit check. That is something which we see very, very often when an order comes in, the system needs to be integrated to the financial system to see what are my open ARs with this type of dealer, and what is the credit limit with this one. And if this is not in balance, then a notification needs to go directly to the finance department. And we control this with a workflow tool. So all of this information leads to a tailored business process from dealer to installation. So another one is, if I look not at the workflow only, if I look at data a little bit more in detail, then I see that the data should be reused throughout the entire business process. I also have the possibility of enriching data throughout the process. So that's something like we call it a cascading. I can start at the point of sale with only some features. My best example, again, I have a B15. I have a few features in there, let's say 10 of them, to specify the details of this B15. But on the engineering side, I might need completely different features. Or if I have a pipe chase cutout, maybe I have a feature in my line item. When I turn this on, then additional questions come up. That can all be achieved by a configurator to enrich the data, which for further processes to have additional information which are required, but maybe not required at the point of order entry. The full integration between semi and full custom products at the point of order entry is very critical, and we need to set up data so that we can focus on either easy handled semi-customs or full custom, so that I don't need forever and don't have to search in my system in order to find base models where I can copy from. So the rule-based configuration is basically everything around features and options, price rules, tax rules, discount, and there's a configuration probably throughout all departments. Another one which happens very often is that a company uses multiple catalogs to address different market segments. So different market segments, here I'm talking about builder and dealers. Some companies have different line of businesses. Some companies have different product lines. In order to achieve that, you probably have different workflows and different ways on handle that. Just know that the builder business needs a lot of project management attention. So not by project managers, also the software solution in the background should help you supporting this entire builder business, which is completely different than the dealer business. Also, companies have different geography which they want to support. It could be, for an example, sometimes I need US dollar, I need Canadian dollar. If I do business in South America, I have a different currency. If I do business in Europe, I might need a conversion to euro. It all depends on your processes, but the system should support you that way. If I look back at the ease of use, which is critical as well, is that the system administrator role is critical. As I mentioned already before, which department is involved in everything, and I said the IT department. If I set up rules and authorizations right in the beginning of a system, who is allowed to enter orders in a certain way for a certain order type, for example, regular orders or replacement orders or rush orders, or some call it chef order, to push them faster through the shop. These rules, if I have them in place, it's much easier for new employees when they come on board to learn the system. And what also helps is if I have one system where I collect all my data in. I don't have to search in this one and this one and this one system. And that helps also to have less interfaces. And also at the end of the day for the IT department again, to maintain less interfaces. So what does it end up with? What I want to do, I want something which support me to increase my sales, but not to increase my overhead. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation. I thank you very much for your participation, and hope you all have a great day.
Joerg, thank you so much. That was a wonderful overview. Clearly, the 2020 integrated solution provides a competitive advantage for manufacturers, dealers, and end consumers. I want to thank you again for the time and consideration that you've given our audience. Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that the third part of the webinar series is on Wednesday, August 6th at 1 o'clock. Be sure to register on the 2020 site, and I wish you all a wonderful and a prosperous day.